Dear students, in the last video we saw how Supreme Court over the period of time from A.K. Gopalan case to Menaka Gandhi has had a journey of complete transformation, while in A.K. Gopalan case Supreme Court was of the view that all rights or articles which are contained in part 3rd of the Indian Constitution, they are an island on their own. So every article is an exhaustive provision, and it is to be judged, it is to be interpreted with reference to itself. However, after the position was transformed by R.C. Gupta versus Union of India, by the time Supreme Court went to Menaka Gandhi, there was enough ground for the Supreme Court to hold that fundamental rights, different articles of the Constitution in part 3rd, do not stand in isolation, and they are linked with each other, and they are to be viewed with reference to each other. So we see that finally the dissenting opinion of Justice Fazal Ali in A.K. Gopalan case found resonance with the Supreme Court in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India 30 years later. And with this process of giving an expansive understanding of Article 21, doors were open for very creative interpretation and judicial activism of Supreme Court under Article 21. With Supreme Court free from the shackles of positivist approach towards Article 21, Article 21 was subsequently utilized by Supreme Court to incorporate more and more human rights, basic rights, fundamental rights, which were not expressly enumerated in Part 3rd of the Indian Constitution. So in a way, Article 21 became the abode to many more rights which are necessary to make life meaningful and personal liberty, to have some content for personal liberty. And this result was this post Menaka Gandhi cases. They have gone on to expand that, they have gone on to explain that this fundamental right to life as provided in Article 21 does not mean life of animal existence. So in Francis Corelli versus Union Territory of Delhi, Supreme Court held that fundamental right to life does not mean that we are alive, we are breathing, and that is enough. That is not the kind of life envisaged by Article 21. What Article 21 envisages is a life of dignity, on all those conditions which go on to ensure life of dignity. They are to be interpreted, they are to be understood as incorporated, implicit within the expression right to life and personal liberty. So therefore, from there on, Supreme Court went on to expand the scope and ambit of Article 21 and went on to recognize host of other rights. For example, if you are living and you do not have shelter, a roof over your head, or the water that you get to drink is polluted and it is sour or it is stinking, and similarly a host of other rights and conditions. Environment, for example, if the air is polluted and if you are suffering from noise pollution all the time, whether life will be worth living. Therefore, Supreme Court in post Menaka Gandhi scenario went on to take a very expansive view of fundamental right to life under Article 21, and it recognized many unenumerated rights which were not recognized earlier under Article 21. For example, right to free legal aid was recognized in M.H. Hoscott versus State of Maharashtra, that citizens have right to free legal. Those who cannot afford the fees of the council, state must provide them free legal aid, otherwise they will not be able to defend their life or personal liberty. Similarly, rights of prisoners was recognized in Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration, that a convicted person or an accused person or an under trial who is in the prison, he is also a human being, and his human rights therefore must be respected inside the walls of the prison. Right to travel abroad was recognized in Satwant Singh Sahni versus APU New Delhi as an attribute of personal liberty. If you cannot travel, it does not. In one of the previous cases, it was held that A.K. Gopal in particular, that right to travel means right to travel within the territory of India. However, subsequently in Satwant Singh Sahni and other cases, it was decided that the right to travel abroad is also a facet of personal liberty. Right against third degree treatment was recognized in Kishore Singh versus State of Rajasthan, because third degree torture, third degree treatment by the police of the accused or the prisoners reduces them to animal existence. Their human existence is erased if a person is administered third degree treatment. Right to minimum wages was recognized in People's Union for Democratic Rights versus Union of India, because if minimum wages are not available to laborers, to anybody who is working and giving his or her labor, then it is meaningless. How will he or she go on to support a life and acquire the basic necessities of life which are necessary for the life of dignity? Right to compensation for violation of fundamental rights was recognized in Rudal Shah versus State of Bihar. Right of release and rehabilitation of bonded laborers was recognized in Bandhua Mukti Morcha versus Union of India, because if someone is a bonded laborer, then he or she does not have a life of his own, has no control on his life or personal liberty. Therefore, this right was recognized. Right to livelihood was recognized in Olga Tallis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation. Right to health and medical assistance was recognized in Parmanand Katara versus Union of India. Right to know was recognized in Reliance Petrochemical case versus Indian Express newspaper, because without knowledge of the affairs of the laws, of the notification about the decision making processes of the state, it is sometimes very difficult for individuals to secure their life and personal liberty. What transpires before the four walls of high walls of the state is important for citizens to be able to enjoy their life and personal liberty. Right to get pollution free water and air. Right to wholesome environment was recognized in Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar. Very important right. Without the recognition of this right, we don't see a life which will be worthwhile on this planet. Right to health and medical assistance in the context of corona pandemic becomes very, very important. Supreme Court recognized this right in Parmanand Katara versus Union of India. And why it is so important for the state to invest in health services and health facilities for all. Right to education has been held to be an important facet of right to life and personal liberty, because without education, a human being does not become equipped enough or resourceful enough to be able to enjoy, say for example, freedom of speech and expression, right to travel, right to move, etc. Many of the rights and personal liberty to have the sense of liberty, personal liberty, and to have the sense of life of dignity, one needs education. And however, it was recognized as a fundamental right in Mohini Jain versus State of Kerala, Unni Krishna versus State of Andhra Pradesh, and some very progressive judgments came from the Supreme Court, which were unfortunately subsequently diluted in TMA Pai Foundation judgment and the PA Namdar judgment. And most of the discussion has focused after 1990s on the right of students to have affordable education in private educational institutions, because if the cost of education is very high and if the education becomes beyond the reach of the great majority population, then it becomes very, very difficult for people to have their personal liberties and to enjoy their life in full. Right to privacy has been evolving over a period of time from Govind versus State of MP, R. Rajagopal versus State of Tamil Nadu, and now in previous video we discussed in Justice Puttaswamy judgment in 2017, Supreme Court recognized right to privacy as an attribute of personal liberty. Right against sexual harassment at workplace has been dealt with by the Supreme Court in Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. That if women go to workplace and their harassment at workplace by the employers, by their colleagues, takes place, then they do not have the liberty to work. Where is the liberty to work if at the workplace women are going to face harassment? And therefore it was recognized in Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. Right to food, what was recognized in PUCL versus Union of India, fundamental right, a basic right. Without food, for how long human beings can survive? Therefore, this is a basic right which has been recognized as part and parcel of fundamental right to life. Although we see during this lockdown period, there have been so many stories, disturbing stories, where fellow citizens have gone, have faced malnutrition, have faced hunger, and some of them have been sadly have been deprived of their life because they were deprived of food. And stories are also afloat that godowns are full with food, but somehow we are unable to ensure supplies of the food to the needy. But as far as and I will, after elaboration of all these cases, discussion of these cases where different rights have been recognized, I will come to this point why even after the judicial recognition of a right under Article 21 or any other article of the Constitution does not mean an automatic enjoyment of those rights by the large population. Right against solitary confinement was recognized in Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration. Right against custodial violence was recognized in Sheila Barsi versus State of Maharashtra. Right to shelter was recognized in Shanti Star Builders versus NK Chokame. Right of inmates of protection homes was recognized in Upendra Bakshi versus State of UP. So these large number of rights have been recognized by the Supreme Court under Article 21. However, when we look at the actual protection of these rights, much more needs to be done to make sure that these judicially recognized fundamental rights become a reality and they become meaningful for large population. Why? Because after they have been recognized, what happens is that their enforcement at the ground level at the district level, for those who are in need of these rights, it is not possible unless and until there is legislative and executive action. Because what is the remedy if these judicially recognized rights are violated? A person can move in contempt to High Court or Supreme Court in order to vindicate his or her right. But that is not possible for so many of us, despite this provision for public interest litigation. It is not possible for so many fellow citizens that they will go to file a contempt petition before the High Court or before the Supreme Court in order to get their rights enforced. So I think a mechanism needs to be evolved whereby for the enforcement of fundamental rights, particularly when it does not involve judicial review of a law passed by the legislature or the executive, just an incident whereby fundamental right is violated because of the arbitrary whims and fancies of the administrator, some officer, some police officer, some bureaucrat. In those situations, how a fundamental right which is either expressly recognized or implicitly recognized by the Constitution or judicially interpreted and recognized, how that right can be enforced. So a mechanism at the level of district administration needs to be evolved. Those cases which involve the judicial review of the laws passed by the parliament, by the executive, by the state legislature, they can continue to go to the high courts or to the Supreme Court for their adjudication, and constitutional courts alone can judicially review them. But single acts of violation of fundamental rights at the district level by the high-handedness of authorities, officers, etc. That needs a channel for enforcement, a channel for implementation at the district level. So I think we need to consider, we need to evolve a mechanism whereby maybe the district judge at the level of district can be empowered to issue orders for the enforcement of fundamental right of individuals when it does not involve a review of a legislation, judicial review of a law, pronouncing upon the constitutional validity of a law. A case of enforcement of a fundamental right simpliciter. Say for example, someone is denied fundamental right to food, and he or she and certain segments of the society are starving. Now that does not involve judicially reviewing a law which has been passed by the parliament or legislature. It only involves enforcement mechanism. So there may be some bureaucratic authority or bureaucratic administrative body which is empowered, which is obliged to supply food to the needy, but he or she is not supplying it, not performing his or her duty adequately. Then in that, maybe because of corruption or sheer incompetence or apathy, whatever may be the reason, in those situations a citizen should be able to move within the district. I don't know whether it is the district judge or some other authority which is empowered to enforce fundamental rights when day-to-day violation, quotidian violation of fundamental rights takes place at the district level, at the tehsil level, at the township level, at the village level. Citizens should be able to access just those forums, judicial forums, maybe quasi-judicial forums, in order to vindicate their fundamental rights. Because without the enforcement of fundamental rights, without the ability to enforce fundamental rights for the weakest of the weak, who is living in the remotest of the corners of our state, I don't think our dream of establishing equal opportunity or ensuring justice, social, economic and political, or liberty of thought, belief, faith or expression will come true. And for that purpose, more creative ways need to be found out, more creative ways need to be devised, so that fundamental rights, whether they are expressly recognized by the Constitution or recognized by the Supreme Court by way of judicial interpretation, those rights become a reality. With respect to education, I think Supreme Court has had made a very good beginning in Mohini Jain case, and which was slightly diluted in Unni Krishnan case, but subsequently this overriding of Article 19(1)(g) over, say for example, Article 21 and other directive principle of state policy, where the state is obliged to ensure education for all. I think Supreme Court has not been able to draw the line firmly, because privatization of higher education without any support or without any policy, without any scheme for the support for the poor and the needy, for the weaker section of society, has meant that large sections of the society remain deprived of the good quality education. Therefore, maybe the parliament now, the executive or the legislature, needs to come up on their own with the schemes, with policies whereby financial assistance is provided to the poor and the needy who want to access higher education, who are in a position, who are capable enough, meritorious enough and needy enough to be able to join higher education and study, not only in the government schools and colleges, but also in the private sector. Because mind you, as per the latest All India Survey of Higher Education report, the private sector now covers 70% of the higher education segment. So more than 70% students, close to 70% students are now in private educational institutions, And as has been rightly held by the Supreme Court, it is through education that the ability to enjoy life, to be the ability to experience life, and ability to enjoy personal liberties, and to be able to make sense of liberties itself is developed and protected and guarded. Therefore, it is very important and high time, if the opportunity comes to the Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution and laws associated with the higher education, even elementary education and secondary education, in such a manner that education becomes accessible for all. One, for the meaningful enforcement of fundamental rights, also for the holistic development of the society and the country. It is only when all the sections of the society, every child gets an equal opportunity to study, gets the same quality of education, that we will be able to develop the ability as a society, as a community, as a nation, whereby we can tap into the creative potential of the masses, tap into the creative potential of our people, and that will ensure that we stand tall among the community of nations. So thank you so much for this video, and please go through the material which is supplied to you for the purpose of Constitutional Law 1. Thank you once again.